you brought together a lot of threads, which I think we've seen since October 7th, when this kind of decolonized mentality made it into the streets in protest. But you say this is what he's talking about now, is this next stage of this sort of decolonial protesting. But how can you have a decolonial movement in the United States, which is a country that doesn't have colonies?
Yeah, exactly. So the way I saw it was that a lot of people, talk about Israel after October 7th, but there's also America after October 7th. There was this whole surge of anti-Zionist activism across university campuses, in Columbia University and other universities, and they were all talking about decolonizing the Middle East, that America was actually evil, the root of all evil in the world, and that this Western hegemony should absolutely be dismantled, and Israel is the center of it, and that Israel is the embodiment of Western domination in the Middle East. And you can see that language that has been fermenting slowly and gradually since October 7th. And Mamdani actually spoke to that directly. The universities, because they promoted a lot of this messaging and this signaling, I think Mamdani found the perfect moral terrain for it. It's true the United States does not have colonies, does not have a lot of what they accuse any colonial power to have. But here's what the United States has. It has one of the best militaries in the world. It has a thriving economy. It has this mentality for American dynamism. And I think that it's something that they see as inherently evil. And every evil that happens in the world is actually because the United States is too powerful. And it's only after it gives up its power that it can be good, and that Israel is part of that as well.
And so Israel's sort of the tip of the spear there for America and the West. But you call this sort of politics third worldism, and you say there was a line here that really struck me, and I went back to it several times. You said that, quote, Anglo-American conservatives who are used to debating policies and principles are unprepared for this kind of politics. So how do people who don't subscribe to this and don't want to see this kind of revolutionary third world politics infect America or Australia or Britain or wherever, Anglosphere politics, what do they do? Because Mamdani had a very slick, very sophisticated campaign. It was very positive. It was very high on the social media. And if you're arguing, policies and principles, that's boring and it's fuddy-duddy, how do you turn around? How do you turn that moral logic around?
Yeah, so something that first of all I call it third worldism because it actually is part of third worldist literature when it comes to understanding the economy and so on. I mentioned people like Samir Amin, other economists and writers who are precisely in that school of thought. And as you said, it's true he is very positive, etc. But he's also someone who loves this binary logic of victim and oppressor, and that if things in New York are not working, well, it's because of this structural, systemic capitalism and so on and so on. And there is one way to actually get out of it, and it's to not be part of it. There is something that I saw, which is how a lot of politicians and commentators and other critics, they are always part of the frame. And this is why someone like Trump is a genius about it, because he just refuses the frame. There is nothing to apologize for. The United States has a very different history than the one of Europe. Israel has a very different history than what they accuse it of, and it's to actually refuse this simplicity. And I think that this is it's very key to understanding it, because a lot of it is about moral purity. It's about, are you willing to apologize of things that happened centuries ago when the problems are actually things that we have to deal with now. And I think that refusing the frame is the best thing I see forward. because it is a policy platform, and a lot of politicians make the mistake of accepting the frame.
Zineb, Riboua, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for putting a great piece out there into the discourse this week. Really appreciate your time.